Hey, we're live. We skipped the video.
When we did that.
Yes. Oh, well, we're live. We have no intro video. So how you doing, Mr. Hildebrandt?
I'm doing fine. How are you doing, Keith?
I'm doing well. So it's been a couple weeks since we've
Yes.
done one of these. You were busy last week doing
Was I doing this?
Kickstarter campaigns, right?
Oh, that's right. And I painted
so
this
what-
in the I think I painted this in the meantime. It's a pinup called American in Paris that Gene titled it. So that's done.
Very nice.
And
Very nice. So what was the Kickstarter about? You were on
Red Sonja. And, I'm going to do a bunch of sketches. I mean, one of the things that people are paying for are me doing this on a blank cover, a drawing similar to this. It won't be the same one all the time, something like that. So they'll be getting buying a whole bunch of stuff, and it's about the character. They're reprinting the Frank Thorne's take, the first book that Frank Thorne did, and with my that's not the cover. I did a alternate cover for that book, which they'll be putting out, which Nick Barucci, the owner of Dynamite Comics, he had the concept of asking me if I would like to do a sort of a paraphrase on the Star Wars painting that Tim and I did. Red Sonja in the position of the two principal figures in the foreground and the big head in the sky, and so I did that, and they put out, it's doing very well. The Kickstarter is doing very well, so that's what that's about.
Cool. And so if I have my information correct, it goes through the new year, right? Like 14 more days on that campaign.
Yeah.
So people still have time.
They have time.
So anyway.
Yes.
So you told me that you wanted to talk about your gift for Gene. Is that the gift for Gene, or is that?
No, this is what I've been painting for the last week or so for Gene for her Christmas present, which I don't know if you can. Is it here? Can you see it? Yeah.
Yeah. See, so is that Gene with a sword?
Yeah, there's Gene, and then she hey, look at she hasn't seen the painting, so I'm keeping that secret in terms of the look of it, the color I've used, and all that kind of stuff. But she actually, she posed for it, and it was her basic concept. She said, "I want to be in the realm of like, the vampire movies, what the hell is it? What's it?
Underworld? The
Underworld. My God, see, that's what happens when you're, what I mean? Underworld. I love those series too, and she wants something like that. And also, I know that she and I am too is a big fan of Highlander. There can be only one. And so that kind of like sort of idea mixed up together kind of thing. You know what I mean? So that's what this is.
Very cool.
And you can't see it here, but perhaps you can see this dragon. She's standing on this sort of like dragon.
Oh, okay, yeah. I couldn't make it out.
Because Jean's a dragon lady. She's born in the year of the dragon, and so she wanted a dragon in the picture. So that's kind of like what that is. And so in the color of light, I don't know, Jean, are you still here? She left. She's supposed to sneak away so that she doesn't hear me talking about this. And you go through different concepts about. I love backlight. See, it's rim lit. You get the low light coming from the bottom, which is whatever's going on down here, city wise and all that. So you have this lower warm light I wanted. Then there's a backlight I wanted. That's why I lit it. And that's why I intended to light it. And I've done so many with a big moon in the sky up here. Backlighting it blue. And I said, not too many moons, man. I mean, this is like I want to do something lightning. Lightning will be it. And then you go through what the hell should the lightning color be? And traditionally you'd paint it like I would anyway, bluish, bluing up.
Yeah, the blue and the white or the yellow. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I say no. This is one of Gene's favorite colors. Is green. So I said make green lightning.
Okay, yeah, that
just to have it be a different thing. So this is what I'm doing.
Well, it adds a personal like a
Yeah,
personal touch to it, right?
right. And
So
so there it is. I got another couple of days on it, and I'll be done with it.
very cool, man. So Chris Fab says, "Merry Christmas, Greg."
Merry Christmas, Chris.
He also wants to know when the Marvel book's coming out. So we'll tell Chris right now that it is still coming out, but with everything going on this year, it has been delayed. So as soon as all of that is updated, we'll let everybody know
Right.
when that Marvel book is coming out. So
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff. I mean, we're talking about, like, I know Taschen, the German publisher, has just done a fantastic book. The thing weighs like 16 pounds. It's like a 16-pound book on. It's called Masterpieces of Fantasy. It's got all the greats are in there. I mean, Frazetta, contemporary greats, and people. And it's a beautiful book. And in any event, they decided that they wanted Tim and me in the book too, and so we've got a section in this book. But it's a beauty. It's a fantastically produced book. I mean, the thing is overwhelming.
yeah, I can't wait to see it.
They do a great job. I mean, they take books seriously. Like heavy duty books are really. I know Helmut Newton, the photographer. I remember they did a book of his work that was like, I don't know, 4 feet tall and this thick. And, like you needed a crane to get it, to lift it up, and a special stand that you bought that you could put the book on. That kind of thing. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
I guess the questions, man, we were throwing around the ideas and just talking about just, commissions in general and art as gifts, right? Like,
Right.
I know you do a lot of stuff for Gene and, as gifts and things like that. When you take on a project of that nature, like when you know that someone is commissioning you specifically because they want to give that as a gift to somebody,
Mm-hmm.
like, is there any kind of special considerations that you take in? Like, are you trying to put a personal note for that person?
You're kind of like reverberating. You froze. I don't know whether this is still live or not, but Keith, you've frozen. I'm not sure. I don't know what's going on right now. If I'm live, I'll try to answer Keith's question. That is to say, yes, I take into account, well, what the person wants. If it's a commission for someone that they're commissioning for themselves, Gene will ask them, and we'll go through all the questions with them. And
Into the painting, or is it just like you ahead of a car?
You've been freezing up, and you froze for a long time, Keith. You're frozen up again. So again, if this is going live, I'm going to still keep trying to answer the question. In private commissions, I take into account as much as I can. Obviously, that's what it's all about. Is what the person wanting the commission wants me to do, and then I'll. Hi, you froze up there. I don't know whether Keith.
I'm back.
I don't know whether I was still live or not, so I just kept kind of like talking.
Yeah, I think you stay live, so you just keep talking.
I was trying to answer your question about the taking into account what a person when I'm doing a commission.
Yeah.
So
it's
and
I'm here. Can you hear me at all, Greg?
Right now, I just heard that, but you freeze up a lot, and then I can't. I don't know what. Seeing as though this is all brand new to me, I get.
Yeah.
Again, are you there?
Yeah, you just keep talking. You're
just
live no matter
So I
what.
of course, I take into account the request of the person who wants the commission. Gene will get everything out of them that they want, and then I'll bring whatever to it that is that I want to bring to it. Invent ideas for them if they don't are not clear as to what like the setup. I mean, like one man wanted his wife a painting of his wife in a pinup-y type thing with a car of his favorite, one of his beautiful car that he owned. It was like a Rolls Royce boat back. It was a wooden back of a boat, and so he wasn't sure. I think she used to be in showbiz to some degree or something. She was a performer. So I kind of like took the period of the car and created a sort of a Busby Berkeley background. Buzz Berkeley was the great director of musicals back in the 30s, you know? And I kind of like did a
Okay.
take on that. That just my throwing in. And he loved it. And so that's what I did, Certain gifts, like
Okay. Very cool.
I just did a painting for my son, Greg Jr. He wrote a screenplay some years ago on Indiana Jones when he got wind that they were going to do that Crystal Skull movie, and he did his own take
Hmm.
on a script, knowing pretty much that they they weren't accepting scripts from the outside at all, but he just wanted to do it. So he wrote this great. I thought it was fantastic. It was Indiana Jones and the Staff of Moses. He went back to the original Judaic, religious object thing. And so Gene had the idea for his 50th birthday to take that script and do like a movie poster for it. So I
Cool.
did a painting of and incorporated it into his story. He has Indy's father, as we all know, played by Sean Connery in the other movie. And so Gene suggested, well, Gregory should be Indy and I should be the father. So Greg came. He knew we were going to do this, and he posed for me, and and I posed, and so I just painted that picture for him, like with the title and the lettering and all that kind of stuff. So, but that's a thing that mainly Gene and I worked out, and then I executed it. So it's all over the place when I do commissions.
Yeah. But so you're trying to make it somewhat personal to, like to Gregory, or,
Oh yeah,
to put
this was
some
highly
kind of,
personal. Yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
and sentiment into it. And, the one thing about with art, um, is that, it's going to, it's going to be different from anything else that anybody has. Right. you know,
As
they
a
don't
gift to
have,
me, yeah,
yeah, if they're buying it, they're getting a one of a kind thing. It's not like,
right.
you just go to Macy's and pick
Sure.
up a coat
Well, it's
or
clearly
whatnot.
a handmade object and only one of a kind. Yes.
Yeah. Now, this might sound strange, but like, have you ever felt weird at all about like giving art as a gift, or is it just like a
No,
natural
I always
thing
felt
for you?
I've been doing it since I was a kid. I mean, Tim and I, my brother, my twin brother Tim, we would make all of our Christmas gifts for all of our whole family, my cousins and aunts. Either make something, I forgot, like objects of some kind, cut out of wood on a jigsaw, and or little drawings or paintings or cards. Since I was a kid, I would figure, well, this is the ultimate gift that I can give is something that I can make with my own hands, as opposed to only, I mean, just going and buying something. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not making one thing better than the other. I'm just saying, for
Yeah.
me, it was always like the ultimate thing that I could give. That's coming, it's hyper personal, you know?
Yeah. For me, I don't know if it comes through like being self-conscious about my stuff or what, but I always felt
Who
like
isn't?
like bad or guilty.
Why?
Um,
That's interesting. Why?
and you know, I get a lot of the stuff that I gave away. I did it when I couldn't necessarily afford to buy gifts for everybody. So it was like, oh, here's a painting. Here's a painting. Um, so
I
I don't
yeah, I
know
can
if
see
like,
what you're saying, but come on, man, it's the ultimate thing that you can really get. It's totally personal. So it's you, it's coming out of your hands. Yeah.
yeah, I ended up doing one for a woman this year. You know, she contacted me and said, "Hey, can you do this for my son?" And so I did it, and she flipped out. You know, and it's kind of the first time that ever hit me of like,
Yeah.
oh wow, you know, like
You felt
maybe someone will
self-conscious because you
appreciate.
felt that it wasn't enough.
Yeah, you know, that I wasn't. Again, that's
Spending
just
money,
probably
going out
just
and spending dollars on something.
yeah, yeah.
Well, what's of value? You know what I'm saying?
It's true.
Everybody, you can go to the store and buy anybody can buy that. I mean, anybody can buy it. You as an artist, this is it. This is one of a kind. This is you personally. You know, I
Yeah,
think it's I think it's the ultimate thing that I can give somebody. That's the way I look at it. I mean, yeah,
yeah,
I'm not saying that necessarily that what I give them is great or I grew, you know what I mean? I think this is a huge, magnificent object. No, I don't even think that because, you know, my work, you know, like you, we're always about, it's not good enough ever. You know, you're always trying to get it right. And you know, but what I mean is that it's the most personal thing you can give, you know?
yeah, yeah. That there's a little yeah. Whether somebody's commissioning the piece or you're giving as a gift, it is. You're not going out and buying there's not 100 of them around. You know,
Right.
no,
And it's
not
all
not a
you.
whole lot.
Right. It's all you. It's you. It's the ultimate to me. That's the ultimate gift that I could give.
Yeah. So
You know that
I
whole
have.
the what?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, but the whole conversation, you know, about that it may not be. We're not you either you or I are saying this is the greatest thing in the world, but because you always have that. I mean, we talk about this all the time. I think, right? That
Yeah.
it's you're never satisfied. I mean, this thing
Yeah.
I approach everything I do with great expectation. You know, ultimate. You know, this is and you know not that it's going to be great but you really there's just this enthusiasm that you jump into it with and as you move along with it all the questions and doubts start to arise. Wait a minute, that is that wait a minute, you know, no, there's all this stuff that goes on in your mind. I think that you just question it and ultimately I go through a series of pragmatic things. Wait a minute, is the number one is composition, right?
Yep.
It's the positioning within here's the picture plane, the rectangular shape in this case, a vertical rectangle. I chose the picture to paint it in the form of a vertical rectangle. Probably why? Because it's movie postery, verticals, and book
Hmm.
covers and comic book covers are vertical. So that's a kind
Yeah.
of a design choice you make right off the bat. All right, so there's your picture plane. Now, positioning of the objects within that picture plane, that's predominant. Where do you position your objects? Is it if you stick this over here, it's way over too far. If her head's over here, it's way over too far. So there's a positioning that I kind of go by to put that primary center of interest right there. Then all secondary centers of interest all surround it. So you analyze that. Is that right? Yeah, that's I wouldn't change that. Okay, well that's okay. Then I go to the next thing. Okay, drawing, the actual drawing of all the objects, the figure, the lightning, the clouds, the sword, the dragon. How's the drawing of it? The shape of it, the structure of it, the proportion of it. You know, yeah,
Yeah.
I wouldn't change that. So you know, I do that. Do you do that? I mean, I do that all the time.
You know what? No, that's a good lesson for me though, so that when I'm in my head about it, I'll do the check. I'll do the checklist. Okay, is this good?
Composition.
Is this good?
Composition number one. That's number Howard Pyle, right? The granddaddy of American
Yeah.
illustration. Compositions. Boom. That's it. If you can have a you can paint you can be a great painter of the deep beautiful everything about a beautiful painting, light, color, drawing, but if the composition's off, if the center of interest is off to the bottom right in the corner, you're not there's not that punch or power or you know what I mean, dramatic appeal. So that's number one.
Yeah.
So you go through that list. Those composition, drawing of all the elements, You know, just the way
Yeah.
it's structured,
Yeah.
the way they're designed. The next thing is lighting for me. How is it lit? Where's the light coming from? What are the sources of the light? And what color are those lights? Then it's color. And color is then, we know, affected by the color of the light. So, but there's your checklist. It's about what, 4 things?
Yeah. So I'll keep that in the noggin when I.
And you go through it and you end up, you say, well, it all seems all right, I guess. I don't know what it is. Something's about it, though. It isn't just. So there's something that you have internally that you are aiming at. I don't think you're ever going to get it. So I know that for a fact. I mean, I used to drive myself crazy as a young guy, throwing stuff in a corner, you know, and oh, I quit, all that crap. Until you finally get, wait a minute, this whole nagging thing about that it's not right yet, that's the process. That's part of the process you go through. That's what it's all about. That's what keeps you going in a way, pursuing that carrot that's dangling out in front of you, you know, that you,
Yep.
you really intellectually, you know, you're never going to get it. You really know that. So you accept
Yeah.
that. Oh, I'm never going to get it, but I'm still driven to try to get it, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is very
Uh,
cartoony in a way, you know, which it always is, right? It's the
yeah.
animal with the stick with the carrot and the dog's pursuing, or whatever is pursuing the carrot, the rabbit's pursuing the carrot. You know? It's kind of like you're a dumb bunny,
You
you
with
know
the
what I
little
mean?
band and the carrot. Yes.
You're sort of a dumb bunny, you know, kind of like thing, you know. Anyway,
So
whatever.
yeah. Hey, so we're coming up on the Christmas season,
Yep.
right? And obviously, what for the last 16 years, 17 years, you have been associated with probably the biggest um, band that is associated with this season, which
Yep.
is obviously the Trans-Siberian Orchestra.
Yeah.
So, you know, this year is a little bit different in that there was no tour, you know, no one's touring.
Yeah.
Um,
It really sad. I mean, no, well, right, the whole universe. Yes, and I'm really terrible about it. There's been no tour, so therefore the program that I do all the art for. Gene designs the
mhm.
program for the yearly show, and that's not here. We didn't do it, but Friday night they're doing a live concert this Friday. So, which
Okay,
is
yeah, that's the live stream, right?
yeah, the live stream, which is a first of a kind that they've ever done. So we're all kind of like anticipating that with great expectation to see how that works and what it feels like, you know. Of course, we know that the live thing is always like a whole other special thing, but I think this should be great. I think I'm looking forward to it. But the TSO
Yeah,
for
right.
me has been. I've always loved music. I mean, I've loved music since I was a kid and worked to music all my life. And when I discovered their music, which was sort of magical in a way, I don't know if I've ever talked about that.
We haven't talked about it on this live stream, but uh, I was I was working with you 20 years ago or however long ago now, um, when all of this came about,
Yeah,
you know, and it is again one of those stories of, you know, of fate
yeah,
of,
fate, destiny, what do call it, which is magic. It really, and to me, it's like Gene and I were wrapping Christmas presents. What was it, like 2003, I think it was, and we put Christmas music on the CD player while we work. You know, we're listening to
yeah,
all Frank Sinatra, the great Christmas songs of the centuries, and all kinds of stuff. And then I go to reach, and there's behind the player, there's a disc, a CD, still in shrink wrap. I lean and pick it up, and I said, "The Trans-Siberian Orchestra, Christmas Eve and Other Stories. What the heck is this?" I had no idea. Somebody had given it to me, and I'd never played it. I put it on the rack. It must have fallen down, and we peeled it open. I said, "Should I play this? Now let's go back to Sinatra." Well, wait a minute. Let's put this on. So I put it on. Gee, and I kept rapping, and holy mackerel, it was like, whoa! You could see there was a story I hadn't read the libretto or anything, but you could tell something was happening. But the music, this combination of rock and classical, traditional, incredibly done, very emotional. And we put it on again. We played it like 3 times while we were at the Presence. Then I had a studio that had several other artists in, and I went into
Yeah.
the studio and I played it, and I said, you guys have heard it. You haven't heard anything yet. You're going to hear the best Christmas album ever." I played it, and one of my friends said, "Wait a minute, a buddy of mine sees them every year at the Beacon Theater in New York City." And so he calls this guy. We put him on a speakerphone, and he says, "Oh my God, you got to see him live! Oh, the pyro and the laser and the light at his show and everything is amazing." And so he said, "But have you heard Beethoven's Last Night?" And I said, "What's that?" "Well, it's a rock opera they recorded." And I've always been a Beethoven nut since I was a kid. And so I went out and got it and played it, and it completely took me over. Totally. I never worked this way. So I'm at that studio. Then I'd come home, and Gene and I would be up, and I come down here to my studio in the house. She'd go up to bed, and I put the disc on, and I start doing sketches out of it. I just listen to the music and draw and draw and draw. And literally every night, I'm doing this now till 3 in the morning, like every night for a month or more. And I'm just completely taken by this. And I come out of my stupor with a big stack of artwork, color roughs and comps and sketches and drawings. And I get practical, and I show it to Jean. She says, "What the heck is this?" And I explain it to her. I play the music, and I say, "Then should we do something with it?" Like, I try to get like, maybe I should do something with this, And she said, "Well, who is it?" I didn't even look and see who did, producer Paul O'Neill. And Jean gets the telephone number at a recording studio in Manhattan, and she gives it to me, and I says, "Are you going to call?" And she said, "No, no, no." She does all the business calls, right? That's as we were working
Yeah.
together. And she said, "No, no, no. This is a fanboy thing. You got to call." So which it was. I mean, I called this number, and a guy on the phone, I asked, and I said, "Is Paul O'Neill there?" He said, "No, he's not here today." And he said, "Well, what's your number? What's your name?" I give him my name and number. The next day in my studio, the phone rings, and this voice is Greg Hildebrandt there. And I said, "This is him." And he said, "This is Paul O'Neill. I can't believe you called me. I've been a fan of your work since the Tolkien calendars you did in the 70s." So it was like, what? So we're on the phone. "You're the man. No, you're the man. No, you're the man. No, you're one of those kind of things. And it's like, that was it. That's how we met. We got together. I brought all the art of Beethoven in at a restaurant into the city with Gene, and he went nuts. And we started working together. That's how that
Yeah.
happened.
You know, knowing you and being around that situation for all the years, I mean, the TSO job, while it is a job, it was
Sure.
so much more for you. Like you became really, really closely connected with Paul, like as on a
Oh,
personal level. You and Gene both like best friends with Paul,
totally. He was a brother. He was a soul brother.
Yeah.
Basically, for both of us. And we were on a wavelength that was amazing. I mean, we would get on the phone. You'd call to talk about something specific, and we'd end up on the phone for 7 hours. I mean, literally 7 hours discussing everything in the universe. Paul was that kind of a man. He. It wasn't just music; it was economics and politics and philosophy and history. And I mean, yeah, it was like amazing. And we would work out the art for the programs, and started with single pages, and I finally evolved into 4-page fold out spreads. And they would be, a lot of it, some of it would be associated with the various rock operas, the Christmas rock operas, but there would rock theater. Paul chose
Yeah.
Paul rock theater, and there would be other ideas. Just, I was always like trying to get underneath of what are they about? What's Paul about? What's TSO, Trans-Siberian Orchestra, about? What are they after? And it's this beautiful positive message, not cutesy saccharine, nothing. Paul being the Irish, the Irish poet, the intense Irish poet that he was, and he puts you through emotional drama of, into the lower depths, so to speak, and then but ascending,
Yeah.
and that classic format was so appealing, and it just, well, yeah, we were just, it was an amazing experience, one of the high points of my career, of my life, really. So,
Yeah. I mean, you guys really just, like you said, you considered him a brother.
yeah,
That the match just came together, just artistically, intellectually, just,
yep, yeah.
you
He
know,
was a sweetheart. I mean, more, I could name like on a couple of hand, on one hand, one and a half hands, the people in my life that have been, you know, guides, as it were. I mean, I knew I had a theologian friend many years ago who put it that way. He said, these people show up in your life as guides almost, depending on how you choose and want to believe it. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? And that kind of like point the way. And he was one of them for me. You know?
Yeah. I'm sure. And, I mean, you and I have talked about this on a personal level, but, the difficulty of carrying on with the art, after he passed.
Oh
And,
God, overwhelming.
you know, but at the same, it's got to be gut wrenching for you and Gene, but at the same time, recognizing that, Adam and the band are
Yeah,
still there to get his message of hope
yeah,
out. Because, like you
yeah,
said, yeah, it's there's obviously a Christmas theme to the music. It's played. They do Christmas time concerts, but the underlying message is a message of hope
it's universal.
that transcends it transcends him.
Yep,
And
yep,
while that band is still going on, you're still a piece of it to get his message of hope out into the world.
right, right. And
So
it's
I
very,
mean,
like you say, it transcends, transcendent, and it's universal. The
yeah,
what's behind it is universal. It's not just one religion.
yeah, yeah,
The impact is global and multicultural. I think multi-religious, and
yeah. It is
that
about,
positive message of for humanity. For all of us.
yeah. There's a lot of reconciliation that he talks about in there, and the coming together and
Yeah, yeah,
uh,
overwhelming. It's he's still here with me. You know,
yeah,
like my brother is. My Tim is still like that with me. I think that as long as you talk about them and think about them, you keep them alive. You know.
yeah. With that, it's like I hit the twin thing on a different level, because I have twin boys,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
as you well know, you've met
Yep.
them. And I just, when I feel for you so deeply on that level, because I see how close they are and how they interact. And, with you, yeah, I mean, he was your brother, but he was also your work partner.
Oh yeah, he would start out. He would be painting on one side of the picture. I'd be painting on the other side at the same time.
Just,
That's the way that worked. It was an amazing. It was like one person when we worked together. It was like a single unit, so to speak. You know what I mean? One person.
yeah. And, you know, it's crazy. I'm glad that I had the chance to meet him, and get to know him as well. And, just hanging out in the studio and,
Yep.
painting alongside you guys and getting some feedback and all that. And, he could be incredibly funny,
Oh, he was. He had a great sense of humor.
so,
Yeah.
uh,
No, it was.
it,
Yeah, he was hysterical at times.
yeah. So, it's, it's just, yeah, interesting. It's like you're talking about those bonds of, you have had it with Tim, who was your real brother.
Yep. with
you know,
Paul.
and your twin,
I've been
and then
fortunate to
you hit it
have
again.
I've been fortunate to have great people, for great people in my life. I mean, you know, I'm not. I know they're my parents. Number one, you know, they were amazing. I mean, you know, being born in 1939 and growing up in Detroit, Michigan, in a, you know, working class environment and world, they never diminished us being wanting to do art and being artists. They supported it 1 billion%. In fact, my mother,
Yeah.
this is a lady that, you know, went through the Depression and who was, like I say, coming from this working class world. She, the single biggest thing that I can remember from her literally hammering it into Tim and mine's head was, your imagination is the most valuable thing you possess. Which, like, you know, I mean,
Hey
that's,
man, that's our quote for the day. We forgot to start off with a quote.
yeah,
That's the quote for
that's
the
my
day.
mother's quote. Your imagination is the most valuable thing you possess. That, I
Yes.
mean, and she nurtured that, you know. It wasn't that she just only said it, she kept that alive in us.
Yeah,
And
that's fantastic.
also the second biggest thing from her was, don't follow the crowd, think for yourself, which is pretty amazing coming from the world that she came out of, you know, those two things to me.
Yeah, your mom was a devout Catholic, right?
She was a
So
Catholic, you know, not, when I say devout, they weren't like fanatical, you know what I mean? They did the
yeah,
bare minimum. They went to mass on Sunday,
yeah,
confession and communion once a year at Easter, which you had to do as your Easter duty, they called it, you know, that kept you in the Catholic Church. And other than that, that was about it. No meat on Friday. They kept
yeah.
those standards, but
But
there was no, you know, craziness about it. You know, it, it,
yeah,
they
but
were,
so but to come up with that, hey, think for yourself.
yeah, that
And
was
you know, I
very
don't mean
unusual
to
in that.
insinuate anything negative there, but
Yeah, that was very unusual. Because then once I really started to go think for myself as I got older, you know, into the 60s, then she was like, "Oh, right, maybe you're going a little too far with your, with your, you know."
yes. Hey, we got a couple questions, man. Just because we were,
Yeah,
you're talking about Tim, and you started talking about that you guys could start on one side of the painting, the other start
yeah.
on the other, and you meet in the middle. Um, Rob B here asked, like, how did you guys divide up responsibilities consistently? Like, how did you divide responsibilities?
There was no set ritual, so to speak. I mean, you know, it say we do an illustration. Say the Lord of the Rings, the big stuff that we're known for. You know what I mean? We read the books,
Yeah,
we all read them, and we marked off all the scenes individually. Tim read the books, I read the books. We marked off all the scenes. You end up with 1,000 scenes to illustrate. Then we have a discussion between the two of us. Okay, which one? Arrive at a system of how to approach it. This is all verbal, strictly verbal between
yeah,
the two of us, analyzing it like anybody would who's trying to work out something. You know, like how do you approach it? Oh, for the rings, good guys and bad guys. Oh, that's the division. Interior, exterior, cool light, warm light. Those are the kind of breakdowns that we did initially to
yeah,
arrive at, because we had like a matter of, we had to paint all that stuff like in 6 months. We had that
yeah,
the first calendar, so we'd arrive at that really fast. And then once we get down to the scene, Tim would draw some sketches for a layout, say the healing of Eowyn in the second calendar, and I would draw some, and there would be slight angle shifts, and we'd look at them both and choose one. Say, okay, that's set up. Either Tim could draw it or I would draw it. You know what I'm saying? We choose a
yeah,
setup. Again, the composition. What's the setup? And the lighting. We talk about the lighting, and then we would do a more refined sketch and agree on that. And then if it's for the client, we would then take that in this case to Valentine Books, show them the sketches. They say go ahead, and then we would get models now and pose everything and take pictures. And we're doing that together. We're doing that whole lighting setup and shooting together. And then we go over that. We do a finished drawing together. Tim would work on one. Say we'd have 2 or 3 drawings going, setups going at the same time. He'd be working on one. I'd be working on one. We'd switch them back and forth till it got to the final painting, and we'd transfer it to the surface we were painting on. With the Lord of the Rings, it was on masonite panels. We would gesso the panel with white gesso,
Yeah.
sand it down, transfer the drawing with carbon paper, like with a ballpoint pen, and then sit back and look at it and start to lay a palette out. All right, the moonlight. What's going to be our color breakdown of the moonlight? Raw sienna and white for the highlight of the moon, possibly with yellow medium for the final whitish white highlight. Then phthalo blue mixed into that, and then ultramarine. So we discuss our color breakdown, mix a series of values for the moon together. One guy would be mixing it. The other guy would be sitting in the back watching him as he applies it. Say, no, 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 too much yellow, too much this, not enough this, like that kind of thing. And then it got to a point, though, I mean, over the years where we would instantly know moonlight, we knew the exact colors we were going to break the thing down in, for this particular thing, for, say, the Lord of the Rings again, or firelight, or candlelight, or sunlight,
Yeah.
Late sun, noonday sun, early sun, we do all the color breakdowns to the distance. And a lot of it was verbal, and then we would, like I say, start to paint one of us would start to paint on one picture, another guy would start to paint on another picture, and we'd switch them back and forth. We mix up a palette of acrylic on sheets of aluminum foil, which I still do. Series of paints, piles of paint. Say if you take all the colors of this lightning, there's white, yellow and white, white and permanent green light, white and phthalo green, white and phthalo blue, white and ultramarine, purple. I mix a series of values, stepping from the highlight color, stepping down as it gradually gets darker. Succinct piles of paint that we then put in Tupperware containers so that Tim could take it home or I could take it home and work out of that. And we evolved that kind of method of mixing colors up for every single object in the picture. A series of values from the highlight to the shadow.
And that just helped keep the consistency of whoever was applying the paint
Right.
Staying consistent.
And I still do that. I still mix paint up that way. I know I go from, say, the true color of the object, which is this cadmium red medium. That's the true color of the object.
Yeah.
Now, I move towards a highlight color. Two highlight colors in this case, the green and the warm light coming from below, which is a yellowy orange light coming from below. So I know I'm heading towards that highlight with the red in terms of this yellow orange light from below. And I know I'm heading towards this green highlight that's coming from the behind. So it's all, so it's like, it's very a scientific approach, right? Analyzing. That was a great quote. Oh yeah. Just in this line, we talk about quotes. Here's one from Leonardo in regards to this kind of more scientific approach to painting. We tell the students, first study science, then follow with practice based on science. The painter who draws by practice and judgment of the eye without the use of reason is like the mirror that reproduces within itself all the objects which are set opposite to it without knowledge of the same. So it's like painting not just what your eye is telling you, but what your mind is telling you. And we got that from early on when we went to the 6 months of art school, where the color and design class said if there's a warm light on a subject, there's a cool shadow. If there's a cool light on a subject, there's a warm shadow. So that's a basic platform of understanding that we went by, that I go by. So it's like, in order to paint anything, you have to I have to understand what the hell's going on.
Yeah. I've got a question for you. Mm-hmm. Okay, I've seen enough of your work combined and your works individual that I could clearly distinguish between a Greg Hildebrandt painting and a Tim Hildebrandt painting. But when it's a Greg and Tim, a brother's painting, it is its thing, right?
Right, it's by itself, yeah, separate.
When you look at them, can you, it might be hard to remove your memory from it, but can you tell that if Tim did the heavy lifting in the drawing versus you doing the heavy lifting in the drawing, can you tell the difference?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I don't know that anyone else can. So,
Totally. Yeah, I
yeah.
can. Yeah, absolutely. But you see what I mean about that? I don't know if that gets too vague for people watching about the Leonardo quote. It's like about talking about not just, you don't draw and paint just what your eyeball's telling you. Because your
Yeah.
eyeball is telling you, your eyes telling you that I don't see a cool shadow with that warm light on that object. I don't see that. That's cool.
Yeah.
Know that it is. Don't
Know that it is.
just
Yeah.
know that it is. Period. End of story. That's it. That's the way light works in nature. You know. Now it becomes an analysis project of if your own. Well, what's the color of that cooler shadow? You know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's a whole learning process thing that you can go through. But if you accept that as a fact, if that's just the way it is, and then you run with that, and then continue to study and analyze, you
Yeah.
get.
Hey, which one of you posed for Saruman? Look, staring into the light bulb. Is that you or
Neither
Tim?
of us. A friend of mine posed for that.
Oh, it was a friend.
The poor guy that I said, okay, stare into the light bulb. So he stared into the light. It was only a 50-watt light bulb. What the hell? So, but he saw purple for a week.
So
I
that
mean,
was
it's like
from.
I always joke. I make you suffer for my art.
Yes. We all suffer for your art.
Posing is a whole other story. I know a lot of illustrators always say, "Oh no, I don't pose models." The BS. What a bunch of BS
Yeah.
that was. I mean, they always try kind of like, I got bigger muscles than you got because I can do that all in my head. Well, it's not, I usually tell people, well, it looks like it. Go get a model.
Yeah. Yeah, I can tell. I can
I
tell.
mean, I'm not saying that you can't do great artwork without using a model. Many people do. I'm not saying that. But when you're doing this kind of stuff, I more so-called realistic. You need
Yes.
nature does it a lot better than I can. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, when you're hitting the multiple light sources, particularly,
Absolutely. You
you
got the shape
you
of the
you can
object.
fake it. Yeah, it can be faked, but faking it is never going to look as accurate as seeing the real thing.
No, I can't. I mean, maybe there are people who can do that. I can't. I prefer the real thing. It's in front of me because there's so much stuff happens that you're not. Look at all the folds here. You know what I mean? Like in a shirt, the way the light hits it and everything. It's got its own thing that's there. That the way nature works. You can fake that kind of
Yeah,
stuff. Yeah, sure you can. But to me, like I say again, nature does it a lot better than I can. So why not? Why not use it?
reference it. Yeah.
So I don't know what the hell were we talking about before? Guides. My mother.
Yes.
People have shown up in my life like that. That fortunately they come, they point the way. In that point, they're not statues standing there, but I'm saying they provide insight and that help me out to move to the next place where I move to. So none of us do it alone. That's the thing for me. It's all an interconnected tapestry.
Yeah.
We're all interwoven. Well, not only just with. I believe that on a grander scale of philosophically that people talk about the past. Well, when are you going to forget about that? You know, remember Pearl Harbor. The
Yeah.
Holocaust, the Jewish Holocaust. To say nothing of the American Holocaust. When are you going to stop talking about that stuff? When are you going to forget that? Oh, is there a time frame on this? When do I? No, I don't see that. Like time. I'm trying to get. I don't know what the hell I'm trying to get. Time to me is the past, present, and future are like a tapestry that's all woven together. There is no distinct separateness of any of. You know what I mean? We're all
Yes.
interconnected and interlocked, like a tapestry. Past,
Yeah.
present, and future. Everything is important. Everything affects everything else. I don't know where that was. But anyway, I had these great guides like that, that really, for me, they kind of like elevated my consciousness in various forms and ways and manners, and I've been real fortunate like that. It's just,
Yeah. And so, we're going back to Paul, right? We're
yep.
talking about Paul and you
Paul
and,
O'Neill,
and
yeah.
making that connection and combining both of your art, because TSO is the music. TSO is the stage show, really. I mean, seeing that band live is unreal.
It's incredible.
They put on a show.
It's
But
the whole show. It's light, it's color, it's movement, it's a whole display that's fantastic. Everything.
there is that then the next element again, which is your art, which that you and what you produced, right, for the programs and for the covers and the interiors and for the stories and all that. That stuff was just as important to Paul for the telling of the story as anything.
Yeah,
like there's a lot of thought and a lot of energy and effort put into that stuff. They're not traditional rock band programs where you get a couple flashy pictures of the band jamming out and it's just kind of all put together and then and sold.
That when I first did the first cover, we weren't producing it. Jean wasn't involved yet. She was only involved on the level of being, my agent, and then becomes friends with Paul. Then finally she said, Paul wasn't happy with the programs that were being done. And generally speaking, rock programs, they banged them out.
Yeah.
Nobody looked at it as anything major, in terms of a work of art by itself. Till Jean, she said, "Wait a minute, let me do this." He said to Jean, "What do you know about rock programs?" She says, "Not a damn thing." Why do I have to know anything about it? I'm talking about production. She's an artist and she has artistic sense and a design sense, and she was a publisher for producing really high quality books, Unicorn Publishing. And so she's let me do it. He said, okay. And so she put one together, and it was like high quality paper, printing. It was amazing. The object was an end in itself, a work of art, a collectible item. That was the way to approach it, like a book in itself.
Yeah.
He got that completely, and we all worked together in that. But then I remember talking about the art being used for multiple purposes. One year, everybody was being quiet. Gene wasn't telling me, and we got to the show here in New York, and Paul says, "Come with me to the command center. That's the booth in the middle of the hall where the whole operations run out of all the electronics." And he's stand over here, and as the show started, in one number, it starts with all my artworks on the screens, flashing around all over the place in sync with the music, and I was like flabbergasted. I was like totally blown away, and I mean literally to the point of tears. I'm standing there with tears are flowing down my face to see this, and he's hugging me, and I'm getting that way right now,
Yeah. That's awesome, man. That's very cool. I can't even imagine like the experience of that and seeing that happen.
The design of the show, Brian Hartley does the visual stuff. The guy's a freaking genius. The selection, the choices, the movement, and it gradually expanded the visual aspect of the show to the last year of it so far. And of course, we're hoping next year to be out again. Was just this huge screens that became so integral to the whole show. And it's everything together, It's everything. It's the whole schmear. It's fantastic.
So we've got someone's chiming in about your clothes, and they wonder why. Have you ever invested in paper towels rather than using your clothes?
Sure, but I mean, I find that it's easier to do this. I kind of like paint. I put a paper towel on my lap or a towel on my lap, and it ends up in my pants anyway. So I finally said, "The hell with it." So I just use as clothes start to get older and worn out, T-shirts and whatnot. I just use them to paint in. That's all.
It's a far more economical way to actually because you're using the same
Right.
clothes over and over again as the painting rag.
But look,
Saves a few trees.
some people then say that, you know, let me get it. Oh man, like that's as good as Jackson Pollock. Well, yeah, but it's not as big though. Whatever.
Yes. So
Yeah.
We have one other question, and then I want to go back to TSO. But one other question: did you and Tim ever get into like, you know, when you were working out lighting and things like that? Were there ever disagreements about how lighting should work that escalated, or were you guys pretty much in sync? Or
Well, I mean, most of the time we were in sync because the lighting was dictated by the scene that you were illustrating. If you know what I mean. If you made a
yeah,
choice of a scene out of a book, say, I'm talking about illustration because that's what we did together. Illustration was you made a choice of a scene that you're going to illustrate by a fireplace, where you know that there's a fire in a fireplace. So you know instantly the lighting setup. Now it becomes a matter. Well, do you want some edge light on it? You know, coming through a window, say from outside. And if that shouldn't that be maybe bluish? You know, but you can see the scene you're choosing to illustrate. I know I'm repeating myself. Generally dictates the lighting. But if it's now
did
an
you ever
arbitrary
like?
thing,
Did you ever butt heads, or like this person asked? I guess they heard a rumor that you guys butted head about lighting so much that you ended up tossing the painting across the room or something. Did that ever
no,
happen?
that I think it wasn't like we were butting heads about lighting. No, it wasn't anything about that. We tossed the painting across the room because we couldn't get what we were trying to get at. Not it wasn't a conflict between Tim and me. It simply was the thing was turning out like a piece of crap. What? I can't stand this junk. We would freak out. You know what I mean? No, we
Got
always
you.
did that.
So it wasn't a butting of the
No, no,
heads
no,
of the
no.
brothers.
Never. There was no fight about that at all. I mean, yeah, you were twins, you know. So we were on a wavelength when it came to art since we were little kids. I mean, you know what I mean? Babies,
Yeah.
infancy, childhood. It was like literally like one guy operating. You know what I mean? It was like
Yeah.
a single mind when we merged together. So I don't know. That's not that's an apocryphal story.
All right, man. Well, hey, I just looked at the time and we are at 5 o'clock, sir.
Holy mackerel! That went fast.
So
Well,
it did go fast. It was a good conversation tonight.
cool.
Um, so we're talking about TSO and all that stuff, and even though there's no new program or anything like that, you and Gene have remained close with
Oh, with
Adam and
yeah,
Ireland and everybody.
in Ireland, Paul's daughter. And but I did an album cover. They're going to put out a album of recorded of songs that were recorded already but never been released. So they're doing a special album, and I did the album cover for that. I'm not sure exactly when that'll be
Oh, very
released,
cool.
but that'll be coming out pretty soon. So
Awesome. And everybody who's watching now, if anybody catches this
wait a minute. Let me
coming up
hide the
soon
paint.
for tomorrow,
Let me
I
hide
gotta
the
hide the
paint
painting.
because Jane's showing up right now.
All right, but anybody, check out the Trans-Siberian Orchestra live stream tomorrow. I'm sure they're going to put on a really, really cool show.
Yeah.
So we'll post. I think we've sent out something of that. Maybe if not, we'll put it on our Facebook pages and Instagram just to remind everybody so people can tune in and check that out. And I'm going to sign off, sir. And
Keith, thank you again. Great job.
great
Thanks so
talking
much.
to you, man. It's been great. Bye.
Bye, everybody.